Hello and welcome to the Porcelain Dog channel. Today I'm going to be reviewing Shogun, 1975 novel by James Clavell. So, full disclosure, I started reading this book over 20 years ago. I say started, I read this book. I started and finished over 20 years ago when I was an adolescent and I was first becoming culturally curious about Japan. It sort of fell into my lap at the right time and I really enjoyed it. So I recently picked it up again now that I'm much older and read it again, and it had the same effect. I appreciated it just as much. So the book takes place in, I believe, the 18th century, and it follows a pilot, a ship's pilot, um, a sailor, if you will, called Blackthorn, who gets stranded in Japan, and it's um, a Japan that's closed off more or less to Westerners, except some aspects of the Christian church in certain parts of the town, and a Japan that is um, almost like the what they call the Sengoku Jidai, the Warring States period, where uh, there's tension between people vying to be the top dog in terms of military dictator. Even though there is an emperor, the military dictator would rule in effect. So yeah, this book takes place then, and it's an very interesting study on this Blackthorn's introduction, where he knows nothing about Japan, and he slowly learns about the customs and uh, the roles in terms of how you talk to people, societal roles, how you act around people. Hierarchies is very important, and I found it very interesting because he comes to it not knowing anything like I did. I think that was done intentionally by the author, where he sort of slowly feeds Blackthorn information about the country, and so we slowly get fed information about the country, which I found very interesting. Um, I found the plot to be, it's sort of like a violent culture clash meets sort of political thriller, somewhat. Um, and I found the characters, to be very interesting. Blackthorn was interesting. Toranaga was interesting. Uh, there's a few smaller characters that I found that were fun, very fun. In terms of the prose, I found that it was good. The novel is from 1975, so at this point, almost, Lord, it's almost 50 years old. Quick math, and it does have a dated quality to it. The way it's written, some parts are a little bit kitsch. Some parts are a little bit different to how things get written nowadays, but I don't think that holds it back that much. It's noticeable, but I don't think that makes it a bad book. I think it's part of the charm. Um, did I enjoy it? Yes. For a book that's paced in a certain way, for a book of certain that is as dense and as long as it is, I thought that it was paced excellently. So you never really get bored. There's always a hook or a mystery or a next step to keep you plodding on, plodding on, plodding on. I thought it was really well done. And like I said, I read it 20 years ago and I loved it. And I recently reread it and I thought it was excellent. I really enjoyed it. So much so that 20 years ago, after I watched it, I bought the DVDs of the 1980s series because they made a 1980s TV miniseries in 1980, which was very kitsch, like most things that came out in 1980. And I enjoyed it. It was very silly. It was a bit hammy, but I really enjoyed it too because I was such a fan. And there's a new series coming out soon, I believe. I saw the trailer. It looks good. Um, I'm not in a rush to see it because I've read the book 2 or 3 times. I've seen the old series. It doesn't hold anything new for me. I might see it. I'm not against seeing it, but if I do see it, I'll probably review it on the channel and compare it to the book. But in terms of the book, I thought it was excellent. And who is it for? It's for anyone that likes historical fiction, anyone that's curious about the world of Japan, um, anyone that wants to read something about samurai. It is quite violent. It is quite. It does have incidences of violence. I wouldn't say it's quite violent. It's mostly tense politics, but yeah, I think it's a great introductory book for people wanting to learn more about Japan. Now, I must caveat that with, um, I don't know how historically accurate it is. It does feel somewhat historically accurate from what I know, and I know Clavell was the author, James Clavell. I know that he did spend a fair amount of time in Japan, and I believe he was a prisoner of war during the Second World War of the Japanese, although don't quote me on that. So I do think it's relatively accurate. There was no Black Thorn, but it was based on a different man loosely. There was a man from Kent, I believe, in England, who did get stranded in Japan and did eventually rise to the rank of samurai. Not saying that Blackthorn did that. Not saying that he doesn't, but no spoilers in that. Um, so, if you have read it and you do know a bit more about Japan than me, please let me know whether you think it is in any way historically accurate or glaring historical inaccuracies. Let me know. But in terms of a book itself, I, who is curious about Japan, found it very, very entertaining 20 years ago and also 20 days ago. So check it out. If you've already read it, let me know what you think. If you've seen the series, let me know what you think. If you have any other historical fiction that you think I would like and I would like to review, please let me know down below. Otherwise, as always, like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.